Asimizwe sinimukele siyavusela nawe losanza kusivulela njengoba kungilesihlanu niyathi ukuthi njalo ngabolesihlanu sikhulumisana nelibandla lelibutha umthelo wahulumende Eswatini Revenue Service. Namhlanje siyakhuluma kabanti nge-self assessment for tax income naye communications director ka ERS Vusi Dlamini. Asivusele ngosisi kumukele lamhla ekseni. Thank you so much for joining us again. Kume nje kusichazela kabanti ukuthi ni uchaza kuthini manithi yi self assessment for tax income yini kahle kahle mhlambe lebhekekile kulelo bhadala umthelo.
Okay, thank you very much. Kusho ukuthi if you remember last week sakhuluma ngenzaba ukuthi we are at the time where we expect that all companies and certain individuals are expected to submit what we call income tax returns. Now previously we basically kufuna ukuthi na usilethela loyo mbiko lama income tax returns forms ubale lo mthelo bese uyasilethela bese siphindze thina siya-checka siyabala ukuthi vele ubale kahle yini siphindze sibuyisele kuwe sisho ukuthi cha ubale kahle so ungabhadala ke nangabe kusho ukuthi khona lokufuna ukubhadale kanjalo nangabe kusho ukuthi khona lokufuna sikurefund kona stack refunda but kanjalo futhi nangabe kusho ukuthi kude lokufanele ukwengete then kude lo tangengete. So i self assessment for income tax it's wena udibalela wena lo mthelo kusho ukuthi uyabala wena based on all income that you have earned, either as an individual if you are expected to submit, but all companies definitely. And the form fully such that without now further onke details in the form, then the calculation is going to be done automatically.
Yeah. Okay, kubuda nje ukuthi lokho does it only apply to bantu laba self-employed mhlambe nalabanye because laba employee nje mhlambe labanye okhanza ukuthi umthelo deductwa automatically kuma wages ingabe vele mhlambe ku apply kubo bani lapha kuchaza kahle hle
go apply go one sithe last week returns abheke ukuthi submitwe ngama companies and individuals. So the starting point is that all companies we are expecting that they will submit returns and they will submit them using a self-assessment method. And then if you are an individual and you are employed and you don't have any other source of income, and there is no need for you to submit a return because as we have said already umthelo wakho usuke ubalwe ngumqashi. But in an event then you are expected to okay, though gonna limit because I think limit yakona it's unless you are earning more than 1.2 million a year, then you will be expected to submit still, even if umthelo wako ubanjwa umqashi. But if you are earning an income, when you are earning income from umqashi, lokusho ukuthi uyabanjwa umthelo wakho njalo ngenyanga. But you have got other sources of income. Some people will be having other sources of income. Maybe you have got your own grocery shop. We have got some rental of flats or something like that. That income, if as an individual, submit returns because we have earned income from various sources. We have income from various sources. So now we use the same way of submitting returns, unless it is self-assessment.
Okay. So ngiyatlo ukuthi kukumcolo ukuthi ubeke ema records, for instance my bank statements, my receipts. So yinle ngaphi ama documents latsingekile nje ku submitela ama returns.
Okay, for companies, obviously, we would expect that they have to include financial statements. So those would have to be attached. I think for companies, local critical they must be audited. And but if you are an individual you will be expected to attach some certificates. For instance, asengithi njengawe uyasebenza Eswatini TV, let's say you've got another source of income. Umqashi wakho kubheke ukuthi akunike that certificate lesikhombisako ukuthi udeductile umthelo on a monthly basis and umnyaka sowuphelile wemthelo. This is the total that umqashi has deducted. It's one of the documents that will be expected to actually attach as part of submission yakho income tax returns.
Okay, so ngiyevakala ngoze. So uma ngabe mhlambe ngi-self-employed, how then do I prove i-income yami? Ngimaphi ama-documents ekudinga ukuthi ngiwaproduce kuprove ukuthi cha ngiholile this month, mhlambe ngaholi next month? Kuyadingeka ngivele lokho mhlambe nangisubmita wona ama-returns.
It depends on what self-employment is, because I think some people will tell you they are self-employed, but they are not really earning a salary from the business that they are running, because some people would call self-employment what they are calling their own companies. But now there's a difference between your company and yourself as an individual. But if your business is a sole trader, there's no difference between yourself and the business. So you could treat her as the same thing if it is actually a sole trader. Now, then the big question would be, what do you do on a monthly basis? Do you get a salary from there? Or do you get what we call director's fees? Because some will get what they call director's fees, maybe once a while, not necessarily on a monthly basis. And obviously, if you are doing that, the expectation is now submitted the returns, you will still be expected to demonstrate how much you have actually taken out of the business. You would include as director's fees, but when we require that you give us information, we'll then be expecting that you give us the proof that you have actually taken this much, and have you paid tax on that at the time when you are actually taking that payment.
All right, so in a case where someone has just died inkosi, ngabe vele mhlawumbe ngimaphi ama-documents ladingekako ukuthi bayamsubmithele vele mhlawumbe lawo ma-returns in the UK nje, kukhanze ukuthi mabe umvuso ushonile usanza kushona bayamsubmithele lawo ma-returns lawo. Ngabe nala Eswatini, is it the same case noma mhlawumbe kuhandlishwa ngalenye indlela?
Again, a question there would be, is it a company, is it a sole trade? Because now if it's a sole trade, if someone is no longer there, they are no longer there. But if it's a company, now the company is separate from the individual. Yes, it is expected that we would need to know if the person that is deceased has earned income and stuff like that. But I think logo critical lapo would say, we know that at some point in time that estate yaloyo mundu is going to be wind down up, and that's when we will then appreciate if that person would have paid tax at the time when the estate is being wind up. So I think that is what would be critical. But I think it's an important question in the sense that maybe at some point in time we would have to consider doing a show where we are talking specifically to those issues. But ordinarily, what would happen would say, wind up the estate. That's when all creditors, aloyo mundu, will actually have to show up and say, oh, nambe bankweleta, and then that's all. We also come in there as the taxman.
Okay, so what is our penalties? Ngisolo ngingaveli mhlawumbe kusubmit ama-returns ami ngibese ngishaya ngeliswati nganani. We
want to encourage. We are just in a debt relief program, and what we have seen, Lulu, is that a lot of businesses, because of not doing what they expected to do, and like not submitting returns on time, they found themselves in huge penalties. Because the penalties themselves, they will not be. For instance, the interest here will not be as a bank interest. It has to be higher, because let's remember, we're expected to do what the law expects us to do, and all of us, for the development of our own country. So if you're not doing it, obviously you find yourself with those huge penalties and interest. I think, for instance, the interest would be sitting at around, I think it should be 18%. Now, that's quite steep interest, and that's probably not as steep as what you see in other countries. And the penalties would go up to as twice as what you would have paid as tax. So that's why we say every time people must submit their returns. They must pay what they are supposed to pay. I think with self-assessment, what we want to emphasize, we would say, when you are submitting the return, submit the return, and if it says you're supposed to pay 100,000 as tax, pay that 100,000 at the time when we are submitting. That is what self-assessment is all about. And we also want to mention, Gutsi, everything is now done online. There's no need for you to be walking into our offices unless you don't have a computer. Even if you don't at home, we will still give you a computer internally in our service centers for you to be able to do it. But sendela logo ukuthi konke ukhona kukwenda well on time. Go online if on e-tax, submit all the returns there, and then it will tell you what would say how much are you supposed to pay, and immediately go to your banking platform and pay what you're supposed to pay to avoid the penalties, because are stressful for many businesses because they then eat out of what the business would have made as profits.
So lokusho ukuthi the more aqhubeka baleka, the more angeteka lama penalties athi kanti sakabhadala imali enkulu kakhulu.
Yes, that's the truth, because if ungawuletha umbiko lamhla and one day is gone, 2 days, 3 days, the penalties are going up, and the interest that would probably accumulate on the tax that you were expected to pay. So we want to encourage, let's do it well on time, let's submit the returns, and let's make the payment, and everything should be done online.
Right, so deadline in yona yokusubmit.
Ema deadlines zethu ahlukene kathathu. We've got a deadline yamhla 31 October. That's normally for small businesses that are not really expected to be audited, as it were, and particularly those that are not registered for VAT. So for income tax purposes, they are submitting on the 31st of October. 30 November is those individuals that ordinarily would be expected to submit returns. Now we're waiting for them but for the certificate from the employer. The employer is expected to give the certificate in September, so that by November the individual can submit the return. Then the big companies, because they have to go through a whole lot of process of auditing and stuff, they have to submit by 31 December.
All right, sinongevakala Nkosi. So my contact details ngabe vele mhlambe labafisa nje ukuvaka abantu bangaxhumana nani kuphi?
We have a WhatsApp number. We want to encourage people. A lot of people are using WhatsApp. You can drop us an email, a WhatsApp message on 7606 3735. And you should be able to get responses on some of the things that you'll be asking there. And then alternatively, if you want to call us, go to 406 4050. We are also on Facebook, so we do a lot of activity on Facebook as well, and particularly on our inbox. And if people want to inquire on anything, they can use that platform.
Oh yes, before nje siphume bengisafuna kubuta nje ukuthi vele amabhizinisi nje lasesemasha lana enyanga 2-3 months lamancane lasangena kulolu hlangothi lwethu amabhizinisi, kukhona mhlambe platform ka ERS noma departments lapho khona nibachazela ngebhadala kwemthelo naku-submit wona ama-returns ukuthi bangathi khanza sebasemuva sebabhadala wona ama-penalties?
I think it's exactly the same platforms that I've just mentioned. WhatsApp, we've got people that are sitting there to respond to questions. It's the contact center, actually. They can call us on our contact center numbers 246 4050. They can also go onto our Facebook page, and but also we do go out time and again. We are CIS announce so we encourage businesses to attend those workshops so that they can get that opportunity.
All right, no, thank you so much. Sabonga Nkosi banathi lemhlehleleni besixoxisana naye laba communications director ka ERS Vusi Dlamini sithi kanje Donati Ndzaba dokubhadalwa kwemthelo. Sibhekele imarket sibuye sichubeke nehlelo.